Sometimes to get the real story, you have to look past the headlines and go straight to the paper trail. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to dig into the actual public file of one police captain to see what these official documents, all in black and white, can tell us about a career.
Okay, so let's start right here, with this letter from January 27, 2022. This is a suspension notice for a Captain Wilton Collins from the Bibb County Sheriff's Office in Georgia. It's the most recent major disciplinary action in his file, so it's the perfect entry point for our story. And wow, this letter does not mince words. It's signed by the chief deputy, and this one sentence says it all. This isn't just a slap on the wrist, it's a formal statement that a senior officer's behavior was way out of line.
So, what did he actually do? Well, the documents tell us this whole thing in 2022 was all about the captain's activity on social media.
The internal investigation broke it down into violations of 3 specific policies. First, unbecoming conduct, which is basically anything that makes the sheriff's office look bad. That was tied to unsatisfactory performance, and then finally a violation of their policy on computers and data, which covers what you do online.
And the fallout from this? Well, it was pretty serious. He got a 2-day suspension without pay, he was put on probation for 6 whole months, and he was banned from working any extra overtime for that same period. For an officer at the command level, that is a big deal.
So you might be thinking, okay, a captain messed up on social media. Story over, right? Well, not so fast. Public records go deep. Was this just a one-time mistake, or is there more going on here? That's the real question. What happens when we start digging a little deeper?
All right, now we're going to roll back the clock. We're going deeper into the file to see if anything else in there gives us a little more context.
And bam! Right away, a pattern starts to jump out from the pages. Before the 2022 suspension, there's this written warning in 2019. And before that, something much more serious in 2015, an actual demotion. Let's start with that 2019 incident.
Here it is, the disciplinary form from March 2019. Collins was a lieutenant back then. And the issue was that one of the deputies under his command responded to a suicide call, a really serious situation, but didn't have his body camera with him. That's a huge policy violation.
But here's the kicker. This is the really important part. The form makes it clear that while the deputy messed up, Collins got the formal warning for a failure of supervisor responsibility. Remember that phrase, supervisor responsibility. It's going to be important.
Because that whole idea of supervision? Well, it turns out 2019 wasn't the first time it came up. Not by a long shot. When you put that 2019 form next to this letter from 2015, you see the exact same issue at the heart of this single most serious disciplinary action in his entire career file.
Okay, so this brings us to the big one. The 2015 incident that was so bad it led to a demotion. So picture this, March 2015. You've got 3 fishermen out on a lake, and all of a sudden, shots are fired in their direction. I mean, this is a really dangerous, volatile situation, and it kicks off a major criminal investigation. And the verdict from Sheriff David Davis himself, it's pretty damning. He wrote directly to Collins, saying his failure to supervise had real consequences, that it directly messed up the investigation. The sheriff even asked why Collins, the lieutenant in charge, let a mere corporal make crucial supervisory decisions.
And the hammer really came down on this one. Collins was demoted, pulled out of his law enforcement role entirely, and stuck over in court services. He also lost his command of the bomb squad and was ordered to take remedial classes on, you guessed it, supervision and leadership.
But a personnel file isn't just about the big, dramatic moments. It's a collection of all the paperwork, the big stuff and the small stuff that maps out a career.
Take this, for example. It's a much more mundane memo from 2014. It's just a standard form where Collins has to acknowledge that he lost his ID and his badge, and that he's getting a replacement.
The cost? $80. It's a minor detail, sure, but it shows you how thoroughly these public records can track everything, right down to losing your equipment. It all goes in the file.
And the paper trail doesn't just stop at the office door. It can extend into an officer's personal life through civil court. For instance, these documents here are from a divorce filing in 2008, and because they're court records, they're also public.
And buried inside those divorce papers is a child support worksheet. It documents his gross monthly income at the time as $2,800. It's just a little financial snapshot from early in his career, preserved forever in the archives. It really shows the incredible range of information that can end up in the public record. So, okay, we've been on quite a journey here, right?
We've looked at social media suspensions, demotions, lost badges, and even divorce court records. So what does this paper trail actually tell us in the end?
What we end up with is this kind of mosaic. Each piece of paper is just one moment in time, but when you put them all together, you start to see a much broader, more detailed picture of one public servant's career, even if it's never the complete picture.
And that's really the key takeaway here. If you only saw that 2022 suspension, the story is pretty simple. A guy made a mistake on social media. But when you look at the full public file, the story completely changes. That one event becomes just the latest point on a long timeline, one that shows a documented history of recurring issues with conduct and, especially, supervision.
And all of this leaves us with one final big question. These records are an incredible tool for accountability, no doubt. They show us how a department holds its people responsible. But what's not in these files? What about the commendations, the day-to-day successes, the verbal warnings that never get written down? A public record gives you the facts, but it always makes you wonder about the rest of the story.